I have a major in psychology, but this summer, my marketing internship has been amazing. I've learned so much. Before this internship, I've never even used a Windows computer, quite candidly, and now I'm very proficient in Audition. I'm proficient in using it, so I'm really excited to see where my marketing career could take me. But regardless, it's a great experience for future work, regardless of what job opportunity I choose.
You're listening to IBKR's Census Security. Find more conversations at ibkrpodcast.com. Please remember, any trading discussions are for information purposes only and are not intended to portray recommendations. Please listen to further disclosures at the end of today's episode. Now, welcome to our show.
Hello and welcome to IBKR Podcasts. I'm Stephen Levine, Senior Market Analyst at Interactive Brokers, your host for today's program. But we have something of a treat for our listeners today, IBKR's Internship Program for 2023. That's our topic. And here with us is a fairly large group of interns, some of their managers and mentors and representatives from our HR department, all of whom are going to share their experiences this year. And it's been quite a time. But before we get into it, I just wanted to point out that for those listeners interested in financial podcasts, we have a lot of really ahead of the curve discussions at IBKRpodcasts.com. It's part of our IBKR campus, and there you'll find everything about current trends in the global financial markets, including advancements in AI, along with deep dives into the latest economic data, including food inflation and related agricultural commodities, prescient Fed analysis, all of which have been covered by this gentleman here standing next to me. He's our Director of Trading Education, Andrew Wilkinson. So welcome, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. And now that we're into the introductions, Kristen Deacon, who runs our HR's Operations and Information System, is also here with us, as well as Barbara Olander, who manages our Total Rewards or Benefits program. I'm very excited to have you both here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to be here. Very nice to be here.
So that's not all. We also have a group of interns with us as well from just about every part of the U.S., I think, right? We've got Grace Fitzgibbon and Lucas Puesch out of Boston. You're joining us from BC. I understand you graduated.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Kelly Clark from UC Santa Barbara, all the way out from California.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Thank you so much, Rebecca Dechter. And she's up from Wake Forest in North Carolina.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. And so thank you all for taking the time to do this. I think it's going to be quite a conversation. And just because your manager or mentor may be in the room, I encourage you all to be as candid as possible about your experience, which I have a feeling is not going to be such a problem. For those listeners who may not fully be aware, Interactive Brokers really is a technology company that operates in the financial space. And at the core, we create innovative technology platforms and tools for traders and investors worldwide. But what is it about our company that makes our resources and ultimately its operations successful? Part of that's our internship program. I would say it's highly competitive. Well, let's start with you, Kristen. I know you have an intern, and she's here with us today. That's Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
We introduced you earlier on. So how do you see our interns this year, or in general, contributing to IBKR's success? Talk about what project you assigned to Kelly and how that's contributed as well.
Well, I'll start with the interns overall. I think what this year's intern class has brought to IB is a broad spectrum of skill sets and interests and abilities. And they've worked in various departments around the company, adding those skills and interests to our day-to-day work, projects as well, I'm sure, production support and other kinds of initiatives. But Kelly came in and we had a number of ideas for projects that interns could work on. And what actually happened rather organically was Kelly's skill and interest in community building kind of grew out of some initial early conversations that we had. And we sort of ran with that. So she's been involved with driving the internship program this summer with some guidance and support from the HR team. But she's really done a lot to organically build community among the very large intern group that we had.
That's really great. And community is so important. I mean, is that going to fall apart when she leaves, or we still have that community?
We do. We do. Although the internship program will be closing for the summer.
But memory will live on, I'm sure. It will live on. So we'll turn to you, Kelly, for your experience. Well, before we do that, I know you're going into what, your junior year at UC Santa Barbara?
Yeah, I'm a rising junior.
Okay. And that's a pretty long trip you've taken to come out here.
Yeah.
To Connecticut. So our headquarters in Greenwich, Connecticut. So what made you decide to come all the way out here to do it? Did you have any other options, any other programs that you could have taken that were closer to home, say?
Yeah, so I did. I interviewed with a lot of possible internships, but I found interactive brokers to be the most attractive one. I interviewed with Barbara, and after hearing about what like my day-to-day work life would be and the projects I'd be working on, I found it to be the best fit.
It's great to hear. What can you say are the practical skills that you can take with you from the projects that you've done here? Something that might be aligned with your personal and professional goals. What would that be?
Similar to what Kristen said, the communication skills, definitely I've been interested in growing those, and here I've had the opportunity to do so. That and just my analytical skills with organizing data and my research skills as well.
And I'm going to throw that question out there to all the interns now. I'd really be curious to know where you see yourself. What does your future self look like? What ideally would you be doing personally, professionally? Now, let's start with you, Lucas.
Yeah, sure. Although I don't have the most developed idea of exactly what it is that I want to do, 10 years from now, I'd ideally like to live abroad, working in intergovernmental organizations for the sake of like environmental work. So I studied environmental science and political science in school. And my goal sort of is to work in the space between the public and private sector and try to stimulate environmental policy and sustainability in the private sector.
Grace?
Yeah, similar to Lucas, I'm not necessarily sure where I'm going to end up, but this internship was a stepping stone for me because I'm headed down to UVA in a few weeks for my master's in marketing, and just the experience I've gained here is unimaginable, and I've learned so much, and it's definitely like given me a lot of hope and excitement for what's in the future in marketing.
And then you're going to go to Virginia, so you're basically state hopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Rebecca, I'll ask the same with you. Where do you see yourself in, say, the next 5-10 years? What does it look like, ideally, if you had to imagine yourself out there?
Similar to Grace and Lucas, I'm heading into my junior year at college, so I'm not too sure where I will exactly end up. I have a major in psychology, but this summer, my marketing internship has been amazing. I've learned so much. Before this internship, I've never even used a Windows computer, quite candidly, and now I'm very proficient in Audition. I'm proficient in using it, so I'm really excited to see where my marketing career could take me, but
Great.
Regardless, it's a great experience for future work, regardless of what job opportunity I choose.
That's awesome. And we'll get more specifically into your projects as well. I imagine myself exactly where I am now, 10 years prior. I'm sure Andrew did as well. Andrew, how long have you been here with the company?
So on and off about 20 years. I started in 2007, Steve.
Okay, so 20 years. So I'd like to ask you this because I think you've been here perhaps longer in tenure than others. And you're also Rebecca's mentor.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'd like to know, in your view, what is behind Interactive Brokers' ongoing competitiveness and success in the broker industry? What drives that?
Well, Interactive Brokers is a very tech-centric company. It's got a long history within financial markets, and it's got a very dominant global presence, and specifically for professional investors. And when I mean professional investors, it's those people who can think of volatility as an asset class. So it's the ability to scale up when markets go up and to scale up when markets go down.
Huh.
We're a very lean company, I think about 2,800 employees globally, and that ability to enable clients around the world in all those different countries to facilitate their trading when they need it, that's really critical.
So within this context, what kind of projects did you say assign to Rebecca that helps to support that kind of success for this company?
Well, back in November last year, we were asked by our HR colleagues if we could put together an internship task for the summer. So I wrote down some requirements of what a podcast producer would potentially add to the team. So we asked Rebecca to schedule podcasts for the summer, work with guests, and then produce each event. So that means taking a raw recording, removing all the ums and the ahs and the pregnant pauses that I often create, and then structuring the event so that it's easy on the ear for the audience. So it means working with audio software, as Rebecca mentioned, and editing software, coordinating with the compliance team, and dealing with a hectic publishing schedule to ensure that we've got a great flow of weekly content. And my team also set a task for Rebecca, which we can go into later, to create a brand new channel while she was here. We wanted to create a series of episodes that would appeal to people of her age that wanted to learn more about financial matters, whether it was credit scores, the buying versus renting decision for homes or autos, as well as investing basics.
That's a lot of work that you ended up having to do for the training education area, Rebecca. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you took away from it practically that you'll have your hands on?
Yeah, of course. So I think practically overall, the biggest thing I took away is seeing something come from just nothing really to a big production. And I think that just seeing the process of something translating into a really great podcast or a really great transcript or even a brand new channel, as Andrew was talking about, is really great to see, because really nothing can turn into something super great as long as you work hard at it. So I think overall that's where my mind is at.
Oh, that's awesome. I think it speaks volumes actually to the kind of culture that we have here at the company. And for this, I'd like to get your feedback. Barbara, would you agree that working hard at this company is important? It's a part of its culture. And I understand you also had an intern in your department, Dahlia? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And in your view, what are some of the traits or the attributes or characteristics that a resource at this company would need, say, to fit in with the culture, to adapt to the culture, to thrive in the culture, to do well here?
So I think you've touched on a very good sort of baseline of the type of personality or characteristics or traits that we are looking for in our employees, whether that be the intern class or employees broadly. We want individuals who are driven, who are eager to succeed, who are able to take, a nebulous idea and make it a reality, ensure that all of the necessary steps are followed and followed up on, and are really able to sort of manage the occasional disappointments that may come with that process. As we all know that not everything goes as smoothly as maybe you intended to, but in order to succeed at Interactive Brokers, you have to have a little bit of a resilience and a little bit of a desire to succeed as well.
Yeah, and it really creates dedication towards your own work and towards the results that I think Rebecca was talking about. Seeing those results really are amazing, and what you contribute to those results at the end of the day really makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think with Dahlia, who, as you mentioned, was my intern, I think she had been able to show that working through a project or a set of tasks diligently or sort of sticking with it yielded the results that we had sort of agreed on or imagined to be at the end of that process. So
you can't ask for more than that. That's really great. So I think this is a nice segue back to Lucas and Grace and talking a little bit more specifically about the projects that you had and how they're going to align with those career goals that you had mentioned earlier. I know intergovernmental operations was part of that, Lucas?
Yeah, of course. I'd say my two most relevant projects, or what I've spent the most amount of my personal time on, is building out our Scope 3 emissions data.
What is Scope 3? Scope 3 is like a derivative of emissions, or?
Yes, another term for it is associated emissions. So while we produce carbon emissions in our offices, those are more Scope 1 and 2 because they're like more direct and indirect emissions.
Okay.
Associated carbon emissions are those that you're responsible for throughout your supply chain. So if, to give an example, we use a lot of data centers, and, the racks that we are purchasing from these data centers also produce carbon emissions, and we're more responsible for those than the company itself necessarily. So we have to be able to document exactly what it is that we're responsible for to have an accurate picture of our global carbon footprint.
I think he's going to be a guest in our future podcast. I'd say so too.
And that ties directly to what it is that I want to do, because it's, at the end of the day, environmental work. It's sustainability. And although my future aspirations might be more politically centered, it certainly has that environmental aspect to it. But then that ties to my second project, which is regulatory analysis. And so legislative bodies around the world, whether that's the EU or Australian Parliament or whatever it may be, they're passing sustainability laws that require companies to adapt and implement whatever sustainability requirements or disclosure requirements that specific law might be asking for. And so we need to be able to know exactly what it is that we qualify for within those requirements and develop the plans of abiding by them.
So where we have a presence around the world in different places within the EU, we have to abide by certain regulations that are different from the US, obviously, depending on what policy is there. And you're in this ESG and sustainability group under Cecile Fleckton. She was your mentor, yes?
Correct, yeah.
Awesome. Grace, and you were in marketing with Anthony
I'm
Catino.
marketing. Yes.
Okay.
So a little bit different than Rebecca. I had a vast difference of jobs than Rebecca. My path this summer wasn't linear, but I think that has given me a lot of insight into what I want to do in the future. And I came into marketing because I've always been really interested in the way that companies, put themselves out there and get customers. So I was really excited to learn about the intricacies of that. And this summer I worked on updating our website, the hedge fund marketplace, and working on some of the text because I was an English major. So reading through some of that was very interesting. I also was researching softwares for our social medias, which was really cool. But overall, I learned so much with the different projects, and I'm really grateful that I was able to, kind of dip my toes in a little bit of everything to gain that.
That's great. It sounds to me like there's a far more substantial experience through the internship here, something that is substantial enough to take with you after this internship ends.
Definitely.
I don't think we understood exactly where you're going to go in the future, Kelly.
Oh, that question. I'm not too exactly sure where it's going to take me, but I am lucky to have gained the skills I have here, and I'm hoping to grow those and bounce off those once I finish school. Like Grace, I'm studying English, and I have a passion for literature, reading and writing, and I want to hopefully do something with that in the future.
There were great posts that I remember y'all put up through Yammer, which is now, I understand, Viva Engage.
Yes.
It keeps changing names. I hope I hope that community stays around too for long after this internship is over. But anyway, this is incredibly informative. This is all really, really great. I want to just open the floor to anybody who'd like to say anything. Andrew?
I have a question. Did anybody have any interaction with other department heads that would help them in their future careers?
Yes, I actually did. Thanks to Andrew Wilkinson for
allowing me a side question.
For allowing me to meet with the technical writing team here. I was asked to work on an intern piece for the company magazine, and through the magazine outlet, I met a bunch of people I admire, and Andrew was so kind and set me up with a couple of the technical writers here, and I had a few meetings with them where they told me about their career path, their school experience, their day-to-day work life.
Oh.
So it's definitely very helpful.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Andrew.
Did you relate to any of their experiences as well?
I totally did, yeah.
So it sounds pervasive. And how many interns did we have in this group this year?
We had 55 globally,
Wow, okay.
but I think there were 39 in the US.
28 at
here.
Greenwich.
And where else around the company were they?
We have an intern still located in London. We had interns, I believe, in Hungary, Singapore, Hong Kong, Chicago.
Fort Lauderdale as well.
Thank you.
That's a whole
Thank
country
you.
in itself. Well, this has been really, really, really terrific. Does anybody else want to say anything last minute?
Yeah, I do. If there's one thing you guys are going to take out of this podcast, it should be to never say no to any opportunity that comes your way. Moving out here was very scary for me, but I am so grateful that I chose to do it. So I hope you guys can take advantage of the same opportunity that I did.
Excellent. I want to thank you all very, very much for coming, for participating, for being open and candid about the experience. My experience personally with this whole internship group this year has been really, really phenomenal, as it was last year as well. For our listeners, you can hear more of IBKR podcasts at the IBKR campus, and they're also available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and anywhere you listen to your favorite shows. And wherever you might tune in, please rate and review us. We also have an entire financial literacy series, as Andrew had mentioned earlier, for those of you interested in learning all about, say, credit scores or managing a 401k or seeking auto financing, a lot of really great topics. And for a full list of financial education offerings, visit the IBKR campus, where, as always, all of our educational material is provided to the public at no cost. And until next time, I'm Stephen Levine with Interactive Brokers.
Thanks for listening to IBKR's Sense of Security. As always, there's more content at ibkrpodcast.com. And if you're interested in learning more about Interactive Brokers, visit ibkr.com. We offer more trading education content such as webinars, market commentary, market-related courses, and quant-related articles at ibkrcampus.com. The analysis in this material is provided for information only and is not and should not be construed as an offer to sell or the solicitation of an offer to buy any security. To the extent that this material discusses general market activity, industry or sector trends, or other broad-based economic or political conditions, it should not be construed as research or investment advice. To the extent that it includes references to specific securities, commodities, currencies, or other instruments, Those references do not constitute a recommendation by IBKR to buy, sell, or hold such investments. This material does not and is not intended to take into account the particular financial conditions, investment objectives, or requirements of individual customers. Before acting on this material, you should consider whether it is suitable for your particular circumstances and, as necessary, seek professional advice.